You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWF With Authority. Will this PC online strategy game stand the test of time? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor? You're fired! All of this plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the Feis. Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now. And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am the man of 1,001 nicknames, who I guess this week will just continue from last week. I'm Paul Feis, but I'm actually George Feis, and today we are playing WWF With Authority.
And as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod, and now on Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Georgie boy, 6-shooter, Paul, how you doing this week?
Paul is, still confused as to why my name is Paul. The only thing I can think of
because you had your
is
coconut
that,
oil. You're now a superstar.
No, I was just, the only thing I was thinking is that maybe I was standing next to Papa Bear Paul, and someone said Paul, and I may have turned.
That's possible.
And they just, Swoggle thought my name was Paul. It's the only thing. I don't know anyone else named Paul, so
hey,
that's the only thing that I can think of. But
it's not the worst name.
Man, what an awesome episode last week with Swoggle. Great to, that's not the last you're going to see of Swoggle on the Game Marks podcast. And I have some ideas. I think I may want to sit down with him and play some other games. Maybe we'll do like a little podcast plus.
I like it.
We'll hang out. But how about you? How you feeling? We got our ass kicked last week by Swoggle.
He took a chunk out of our ass, as he likes to do in his matches as well. Hey, listen, as we record this, it didn't happen yet. It's actually in a couple of hours, but we're going to wish the best of luck to Swoggle at Rough and Rowdy. By the time you're listening to this,
I'm just going to say congratulations because I'm assuming that he won because he's the fucking man.
Whoa, okay. But by the time you're listening to this, he could have either won or he could be, face down on a mat. We don't know, but we're going to assume the best, and we're going to congratulate Swoggle here on the pod, and we'll follow up on that next week. But this week on Patreon, as you know, Monday, we drop the ad-free show, so if you don't want to listen right here on our normal feed, you want to skip the ads, you want to skip us talking about Bones Coffee and all that fun stuff, head on over to Patreon. You can get that ad-free show, and on Tuesday, we drop the show notes. So these lovely notes that me and George are looking at right now that drive the show, they are yours in that tier. And now, Future Endeavored, our favorite show on the Patreon channel. Wednesday, I dropped WWF In Your House, where I went through and I played as Owen Hart. And we kind of discovered why this game was a quick future endeavor. And this week coming up, you'll be playing the same game.
Yeah, can't say that I'm thrilled. I mean, going back through the archives, this is the second game that we played on the show. So, in that episode I mentioned this is the game that I had as a kid. I think somewhere buried deep down in a bin covered in dust in my mom's basement, there is a jewel case with this disc in it, perfectly preserved because it is not something that was used often. I'm going to try to dig that up. Maybe I'll try to find it for this Thursday's episode. It'd be great to just kind of pop that up and be like, hey, look, this is my actual copy. But yeah, this is a game that I have not gone back and played since we played it on the podcast. And I'm assuming that there is still a good reason behind that, but you never know. Last week, John's episode, the week prior to that was my World Tour episode, and while the rankings are not official and nothing changes...
Oh, here we go.
I may have been wrong about World Tour. may have been wrong.
All right, whatever. We're not going to get into that here. But also, Friday on the Patreon channel, I dropped Clash and Burn, which is my solo show. And I had a special guest, fellow Creative Pro graduate and indie superstar, Aaron Rourke. Now, peek behind the curtain here. For 2, maybe 3 weeks now, I've been trying to get Troy Nelson on the pod to kind of bury the hatchet and talk about FWF Live. And it's always an excuse.
He's not ready.
He's not ready.
He's not ready.
It's always something. So I went ahead and I said, hey, Aaron, are you free? He said, nope, I'm doing laundry. I said, all right, pop that camera on. Let's Zoom and let's have a nice little chat. So that is available for Patreon subscribers of the Feel the Burn tier. But George, take us through the streamer spotlight for the month of April.
Oh, well, speaking of the streamer spotlight, he just sent me a text message. The streamer spotlight for the month of April is twitch.tv/micropony. And big things happening in the world of Call of Duty Warzone.
Oh.
Mike has been on top of it. And if you ever join us on Wednesday nights for the Wednesday night main event on twitch.tv/GameMarksPod, you are very familiar with Micropony. He is one of my buds that I drop with into, I was going to say Verdansk, but I guess now it's Verdansk 84.
It's actually called Flashback now, which I noticed today. It's kind of weird. We're going to get into Call of Duty later, though. Don't get me started.
All right, but yes, make sure that you go and check out Micropony. Again, streamer spotlight for the month of April, twitch.tv/micropony.
All right, so last week we dropped on Thursday night Episode 12 of GMP64. It was a doozy. It was a big one. Kudos to you. Well produced. It was beautiful. There's some little extras in there. You guys really need to check out GMP64. Hop on board. We have one more week, which this week is the go-home show. This Thursday before May 2nd's Survivor Series live on Twitch at 8 p.m. I am so excited to finally own the name DX and GMP64 and send you and Triple H packing.
Yeah, you think that that's what's going to happen, but, every Wednesday on our Twitch stream, I've been hyping up that there's a big announcement coming at Survivor Series, and we've talked about it here on the pod, and you know what? I'm just going to do it again. May 2nd, on Twitch, you are going to find out what the new announcement regarding GMP64 is. Ooh, I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. Yeah, this was all your baby. This was your love child, I'll say, and I'm excited for it.
That sounds weird.
All right.
Don't know. It's just...
Nope, it's your love child. Let's get into some gaming news. What do you say?
Let's do it. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at vgfgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
The new Call of Duty Warzone map has finally arrived, but it seems a bit familiar. That's because players are once again finding themselves in Verdansk, only this time it's the location as it looked during the 80s. While a lot of players seem to be enjoying the changes, many others seem disappointed. There was a lot of hype for the new map following the big nuke event, but players were hoping to see a lot more significant changes. It's possible the map will grow on players over time, but for now, a lot of Call of Duty fans seem underwhelmed by the efforts of Activision and Raven Software. Bitfry's ultimate rivals, The Court, surprised everyone when they tagged in some WWE superstars to join in on the basketball action, kicking things off with Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks. Now they're making the crossover even better by adding two of WWE's biggest superstars to the roster, and the two new additions are none other than the man herself, Becky Lynch, and the ultimate role model, Bayley. Both stars look awesome in this game and will be joined by 4 more superstars in the coming months. Now, rumors regarding a Metal Gear Solid remake on next-gen platforms have gained a bit more steam thanks to former Solid Snake voice actor David Hayter. In an interview with Dan Allen Gaming, Hayter claimed that he had heard about the project from sources a few days prior to the interview before it became an industry rumor. None of this officially confirms anything yet, but it does seem a bit more plausible than it was before. Fans have been holding out hope for a new Metal Gear Solid game, and it seems like something just might be in the works. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back. next week.
All right, so
I know.
Right off the
You're
bat,
going right into it.
I got Well, so I just want to ask your thoughts. So I have my feelings on everything that happened in Call of Duty. You and I are both very big Warzone players. I mean, what are your thoughts about the whole event?
Okay, so the event itself, I tried streaming thinking it was just like a one-time thing. You were there. It was okay. I'm used to Fortnite events where it just happens in whatever game you're in. So I was in a solo game. I was waiting patiently, 3 o'clock. You popped in. You're like, no, it's a different game mode. At the same time, I was watching Nick Merckx, and I was like, oh, crap, okay, I got to start again. Servers were horrible. It took me 3 tries to even get into the event. Apparently, there was another event and a new map and a new gameplay. Finally, the playlist updated. We got the new Verdansk map that we were looking for. Personally, I don't think it's bad. Do you want a fully brand new map to just jump in? I don't. I think they put, how do you say, a fresh paint of coat on it? Yeah, that's what we'll go with. And they kept the aesthetic of Verdansk as it was, and they just kind of added, I guess added's the word, because you're now back in the 80s, or they removed some parts. Like, Quarry is no longer a quarry. It's a salt mine, which is what it would have been 30 years ago. Dam is just a bridge, which it would have been 30 years ago. They added new spots, and I think the game has kind of like a brighter feel. It's got that 80s feel. It ties more into Cold War, which I'm not a Cold War guy, but overall, I think this is what the game needed. It's fresh, it's new, but at the same time, familiar. You know, they move some of the buy stations around, whatever, get used to it. We played the same game for a year. I did not want a big drastic change. I did not want a brand new map. What do you think?
So here's my thing. I am very used to how Fortnite handled their events, where like the event happens live, but you can replay the event for, I think it's like 12 or 24 hours after. It's just like a separate game mode that you can queue for if you want to like replay it, or if you were, at work and you were unable to do it, or if you were in school and you weren't able to do it. Like, you can relive the event without having to experience it live, and it's not like a one-time thing. So I think in that respect, Activision, Ravensoft kind of dropped the ball on that, because like you said, the timing of everything was so weird. There really wasn't like a clear-cut thing beforehand. Like, if you were already in it, was it going to happen? Like,
they were very cryptic with everything.
Yeah, and like to a certain point, that's cool. Obviously, you don't want to give the whole thing away, but like at the same time, you want to, if you're already dropping in the game, like you were already in the game, like we mentioned before, and I had to be like, hey, it's a new
and it was a good game.
Option.
I didn't want to leave. I had a few kills.
You got to get out of this if you want to experience it, because who knows how long this is going to be live for. So like, I thought that was kind of lame, but honestly, kind of an underwhelming thing. I mean, you drop into a map, it's overrun with zombies. When you die, you come back into zombies, and the thought is the goal is to make it so that every player that dropped into the war zone was turned into a zombie.
But that I liked, because you didn't get kicked out, you didn't have to start over, you were still there.
But it's just the cinematic.
Yeah.
Like, you play through this thing, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to a cinematic where, like, again, using it as a comparison, because it's the only comparison that I have. Fortnite, if they're going to launch a nuke, they've done these, these crazy map changing events. When they drop a nuke, you're in it. You're in there for the game. Like you're in the game when the nuke drops, and like you experience it and all that stuff. So like, I don't know. The concept, super cool. Execution left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, well, that's just the trajectory of how these games have been over the past year, as good as they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that's so Activision.
Yeah. Do you remember the Fortnite event? I don't remember which one it was, but something happened in the sky, and everyone like kind of teamed up and built up together. No one was killing each other. Everyone was watching, and then some dick took down the entire structure and got like 80 kills out of it.
Yes, I do.
Oh, what a play! That's a big flex right there. Imagine being that one guy, like 80 kills because you're just a dick and didn't let everyone watch. All right.
But then they changed it. That guy made them change it. So now there's no weapons, or there's no there's no player damage. You can have your whole layout, and in some cases they even just make you go to just your pickaxe, and everyone's invincible. So
yeah, smart move by them. But all right, that's enough Warzone. Is it time for the question of the week?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Johnny, when I say gamer food, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, Mountain Dew Code Red and Taco Bell.
Exactly. For far too long, there's been this stigma about people who play video games that we're all out of shape and overweight. That's why we are proud to be partnering with Eat Right to bring fresh, high-quality, chef-prepared meals right to our listeners.
Eat Right is veteran-owned and offers delicious conventional keto and plant-based meal delivery directly to your door. Right now, you can use our code GameMarks to get 60% off your first order.
If you want to feel right, you better eat right.
Georgie boy.
I got a lot of feelings about my Eat Right this week,
Let's hear 'em.
and all of them are great. Turkey Burger Power Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Turkey burger patty served with quinoa, some caramelized onions, and cherry tomatoes with a little bit of hot sauce on top. That's a banger lunch, man. Like,
what other meal prep service are you getting caramelized onions?
And 2 minutes in a microwave and you're good to go.
That's it.
Like, and it's perfect. Everything is perfectly cooked. I mean, and that, again, I always feel like we talk so much about the breakfast, but like pumpkin spice pancakes, and you and I now get different things because you went keto, so you have an entire different setup of meals that you can get. So what did you get?
Oh, so I was a little disappointed that I went keto because I'm going to miss like those pancakes and stuff. But today I had a bacon cheddar omelet that was incredible.
Oh, that sounds
It was
great.
filling. And you know, like sometimes you get those little cups, like they're called like protein cups, and they're like the size of like I don't know, 2 quarters. They're like small. I ordered those thinking they'd be like snack size. These things are massive. They are like, you could see me, but no one else could see me. They are huge. They're like the size of my face. So I cannot wait to get more into that. Now, guys.
Like the size of a snack pack.
Yeah. Now use the hashtag GamerGains and show us that you ordered Eat Right using the code GameMarks for 60% off and receive a free GameMarks backpack that you could take to the gym and let everyone know that you are getting those gamer gains. Now let's get into the question of the week.
All right. So, question of the week is a weekly segment where you, our lovely listeners, ask us a question and then we answer the question and propose the same question to everyone else. And if we pick your question, you get a Game Marks prize pack. Last week, the question was, what video games and drinks pair well together? And I feel like the overall answer, saw a lot of it, was just some form of Mountain Dew and a game, which is to be expected. A lot of people within our age group grew up with Mountain Dew Code Red being the main thing.
Baja Blast.
And got some good ones here. I'll let you take the first one since it's your buddy.
All right. Prequel to the sequel says Jaeger Bombs and Battlefield Bad Company, and he tagged our other friend, Merce Collin. I would love to know the story behind that because I know they lived together for years, so had to be something there. Friend of the pod, WCW Worldwide. Actually, we got this answer a few times because of the ads in-game, but WCW Mayhem and Surge Cola. Love it.
Surge Cola. Now, there was another one that came out a couple years after that. What was it, Vault?
Vault was made by Mountain Dew, and let me tell you, I did not like Red Bull. And when my friends would do like what's it called, like vodka Red Bull or like Jaeger bombs, I would use.
You would do vodka Vault.
I would use Vault, yeah, because it had the energy kick, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm doing what you're doing, but it tastes a lot better.
Is Surge back? Is Vault back? I feel like one of them came back and then one of them went away.
Yeah, I think Surge came back like a year ago, maybe for a limited time. Not sure. We could check on that. We could get sponsored by Surge. How awesome would that be?
Oh, yeah. Give me Surge and 3D Doritos. That's what I want.
Ooh, those are definitely back. All right, now this week's question is actually from our Discord channel, which is Patreon exclusive, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. That is the lowest tier. Getting there today. It's super easy. It comes from Jamie Patterson. He says, what other podcast would you like to wrestle? I think 2 Bears, 1 Cave would be good. Maybe King and the Sting. George, you didn't get to make your wrestling debut per se, but who should we take on next? We took down Off the Hot Rope. Who's next? I know who I have in mind.
I mean, does the student want to beat the teacher?
Oh, so you want me?
No. Does the student beat the teacher? Do you and I go against Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, and you beat your teacher?
Yeah, that didn't work well last time because Swoggle's face flew into my ass and at the toy drive. I listen to Spittin' Chicklets, the hockey podcast, which is Paul Bissonnette, who is a big fighter in the NHL, and Ryan Whitney, who was a defenseman for many years on Pittsburgh, and he's got a big gripe with the Islanders, and it actually turned me off from listening to the show a little bit. So, in the spirit of they're a Barstool podcast. In the spirit of Swoggle, our buddy, going to Rough and Rowdy, I kind of want Ryan Whitney in a boxing match, just from my team.
Oh, what about this? What about me and you in sitcom trivia against Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey?
I think they'd kick our ass.
From Office Ladies.
Yeah, they
not just Office trivia, just overall sitcom trivia.
Yeah, they'd destroy us, I think. All right, as usual,
because it doesn't necessarily have to be a wrestling match. It could be like a meeting of the minds here. So sit down to like a little Trivial Pursuit or something.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, why not? But as usual, DM us on social media. Claim, you know what? No, Jamie Patterson, you have literally everything we've ever put out. So
we got something.
We got something for you. All right, especially for your generous donation during Gamebury. But as always, we now ask you guys, the fans, what other podcast would you like to see us wrestle?
I got a good one. I just thought of a really good one. My buddies over in the Crew Network have a new podcast that they just launched. They just released their second episode. So they're a brand spanking new podcast called Unqualified Gamers. I think me and Johnny Clash versus CC and Cheese in a little war zone would be a good time.
All right, let's set that up then. If we could do it, let's do it. But are you ready to take the plunge back into 2001, back into Microsoft Windows, and get going with WWF With Authority?
Oh, I'm so ready. Let's do it.
All right.
Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee. All right, John, Bones Coffee. Now, here's the thing. I'm getting itchy because there's a particular brand of coffee that they make that I have yet to try, and I'm getting told by a lot of people that this should be the next one on my list.
Is it the barrel aged?
That bourbon barrel aged coffee.
That just screamed you.
That's coming my way. And last week we mentioned the Army of Dark Chocolate, and now they're back at it again because now you can go for a limited time to Bones Coffee using our link at GameMarksPod.com/coffee, and you can get chocolate strawberry cheesecake coffee. And just saying those words, it's making my mouth water.
Oh yeah, I just had some just before. Still with the blueberry. Still liking that blueberry. I'm not always going to go to 7-Eleven and get their blueberry, so I'm sticking with the Bones.
Oh, we switched to salted caramel, and it's so good. It's so good.
All right, take me through WWF With Authority.
All right, so WWF With Authority, released July 23rd, 2001 for Microsoft Windows, developed by Genetic Anomalies, Inc., published by our best friends over at THQ.
I wish.
And, yeah, this is like the precursor to a lot of the mobile games that we see now revolving around cards, because With Authority is a digital collectible card game. Now, originally, like we just said, this is WWF With Authority, but summer of 2002, everybody knows what happens. It's time to get the F out. So,
ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod.
You threw me off so bad with that one.
Buy our shirt.
So, the new title becomes WWE With Authority, and this game is exactly what you would expect. You could purchase pages and assemble them for your playbook, and it's just a bunch of cards, and they've got everyone. We're going to touch on the roster a little later, but this is kind of laying the groundwork for what we now know as Supercard. Just a little bit of a different style. I would think Supercard is kind of like an updated representation of this game, but I had this game as a kid. I played it. You and I had talked off pod. I know that you did as well. Mm-hmm. I got some good memories with this game.
Yeah, especially being a big eFed guy. Like, this was kind of like the alternative to that. So, like, when you couldn't jump into like an eFed, when you were waiting around and waiting for your results and stuff, like, you would just kick this on. It was like a quick, you could just grab your packs and go. And like you said,
I liked this game because it was kind of a break from, can't believe I'm actually saying this right now, but if you ever get burned out playing the console games, you want to try something different, change pace, even for, an hour, and then you go back to playing, whatever on your console. This kind of filled that void. It was you're still in that wrestling realm, but it's a different kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to like how Game Boy had the Pokemon card game. Like, you're playing the trading card game in digital form. This was around the same time as Magic the Gathering Online as well. So it was online only. You weren't playing against, say, like me and you. We weren't playing against each other. We were playing against each other, but from different computers.
Yeah, so yeah, this is not a not local multiplayer.
No, there are some player modes where you can actually play against the computer, but overall this was billed as a PC online game. Which for 2001, I mean, how slow was this game?
Here's the thing. I have such vivid memories of playing this game and sitting down with my friends who were also I don't know, they were into wrestling. I was always the one that was I love wrestling. It's the only thing I followed besides Star Wars. So all of my other friends had other interests. They followed it, but they weren't as into it. So I was always kind of in the driver's seat, and we would sit at the computer and mess around with this and stuff. So we had, had a lot of experience playing this game, but I forgot some of the cool parts of this game. And yeah, I guess in my head, it didn't run slow. And then
it's probably as fast as my internet now.
Looking into it, I was wow, this game, a little slower than I remember.
Yeah, at least it was mostly text-based. It wasn't a full-on game, or else it would have been, oh man. There's actually one really cool feature that we're going to get to later involving WrestleMania 18.
So let's touch, when you start off the game. So single-player mode, which is kind of your tutorial before you're more or less fed to the wolves online. And for the beginning, first edition, I guess you could say, your tutorials were against the Mean Street Posse and narrated by none other than Kevin Kelly.
Voice of Ring of Honor.
But I was going to say, the voice of Ring of Honor, you know him from his commentary for New Japan.
Yeah, he had a great career that you don't think about.
I was going to say, people, I feel associate him so much, but I always associate him with my early wrestling watching as a WWF, WWE guy. Yep. So the second edition of the tutorials were against Scotty 2 Hotty, but this time, a little bit of a change here. The narration is done by the game Triple H.
Oh. So the second edition is actually 3 computer opponents, and each opponent is harder than the next. And you start with X-Pac, and then you work your way up to Triple H, and then finally the Big Show. So as we saw in GMP64, if you're looking for the hardest opponent, it is the Big Show.
Now, this game, like we said earlier, mainly lives online. So that is the bread and butter. You could just play the tutorial over and over again, which, you know, is fun, but it's limiting. But online, you can have like 1,000 people at any given point just ready to play. I mean, and that's like peak online gameplay for this. You have like 1,000 people ready to go.
Imagine that. Like, think about Warzone now. 150 people are in each game.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is 2001. Online gaming is kind of, it's not in its infancy, but it's by no means what it is today. Like, this is still, in the grand scheme of things, when you think of how long online gaming has been around, it's not then what it is now.
Not at all.
But this is a cool feature. I feel like not a lot of games did this back in the day, especially a lot of the online games. This kept records. So, like, I was a big Quake player back in the day. I played every Quake online using GameSpy. Rest in peace, GameSpy. But you could go and GameSpy is what you needed to keep track of your records. Like, Quake itself didn't really keep track of your records for like any of your online gameplay. So, you know, seeing in this game that with Authority, it kept track of your wins, losses, draws, and the number of times like a disconnect or a DC happened in the middle of a match. And this is important because, you know, you could very easily cut off a match that you were getting your ass handed to you in just by either ripping out that Ethernet cable, which is, I know, a tactic that a lot of people used to use back in the day because it wasn't like you Alt F4'd or like hit the quit button. You just like unplug your internet and you're like, oh no.
I've been hit with that way too many times.
Guess I can't play anymore. But this went in its own separate column and kept track of it. So it was cool. It was an interesting feature to kind of make it not like a quick win or counted as a loss. It had its own thing for disconnects. So that's the main gameplay of the game. It's we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but I want to get this out of the way now. So this game comes out 2001. In 2003, the game is kind of on its last legs here. And then, you know, early into 2003, production is just wrapped up. THQ kind of closes shop on this game, and that's it. Now, the servers for this remained online for a few months, and there's still a client that you can download, but there's no, like, official servers. And then later on, now we're recording this in 2021, it is borderline impossible to play this game. There's not a lot of support for this game. A lot of the people who love this game have moved on to Supercard or have found something else to fill this void. So, just wanted to be fully transparent that this was not a game that we were able to play this week, but between doing our research, reliving our old memories and experiences with this game, and then obviously there's still a ton of content that we can watch on YouTube of people playing this game throughout the years. We got a very fulfilling experience. It's not the total experience because we weren't actually able to get our hands on it, but I mean, it's as close as you can get to the real thing.
That's right. But what do you say we get into this roster here, because this is a very large roster for a 2001 game. I guess since it's mostly text and image based, they could add more and more wrestlers. But before that, let's hear a word from our sponsors. All right. You want me to take this one? You've been carrying the roster for the past few weeks.
Yeah, sure. Take this one.
All right, your roster is Al Snow, Booker T, Bradshaw, Brock Lesnar, Bubba Ray Dudley, 2 editions of Chris, 3 editions of Chris Jericho, Christian, Devon Dudley, 2 editions of Eddie Guerrero, 2 editions of Edge, Goldust, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Jeff Hardy, 2 editions of Kane, Kevin Nash, 2 editions of Kurt Angle, Lance Storm, 2 editions of Lita, Matt Hardy, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Rikishi, Rob Van Dam, Scott Hall, Scotty 2 Hotty, Shane McMahon, Shawn Michaels, Spike Dudley, Steve Blackman, Stone Cold, Tajiri, Taz, Test, 2 editions of The Big Show, The Hurricane, 2 editions of The Rock, 2 editions of The Undertaker, 3 editions of Triple H, Trish Stratus, William Regal, and X-Pac.
That's quite a stacked roster there.
Now think of Supercard now, since it's digital. It's basically, we're putting this out. They can make a card today and put it out tomorrow if they want.
Yeah,
the cards are endless there. There's thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of digital cards in Supercard. And for 2001, this is a pretty damn good amount of people that they had.
I mean, it's pretty much the who's who. You're covering all of your bases there, so there's not a lot of room left to kind of want something, because you're like, oh, I kind of wish they had this version of The Undertaker. Great, there's 2 editions of it. Oh, I kind of wish they had this version of Triple H. Well, great, there's 3 versions of Triple H here. So, like, they're giving you, some variance in terms of the editions with the cards, but there are also expansion sets, which they're called expansion sets, but let's just call it what it is, really. It's DLC.
First WWF DLC.
So there were 7 sets that were put up for sale during the lifetime of this game. So the Season 1 expansion sets, first edition is 196 cards, and that comes out February 21st, 2001. Then you have the No Way Out set, which is 145 cards, comes out December 12th, 2001. Then you start getting into the more themed sets here. So No Way Out kind of like sets the stage, because then following that, you have WrestleMania X8, 25 cards, comes out in late March 2002. And this is a mini expansion that was only on sale for about a month or two, and it was developed during the show itself, with the designers at the event taking notes and then running back to implement code, test the sets, and then send them out. But the main theme for this whole set was the inclusion of the New World Order.
So this is, like, today they could do this with anything. Like, you could
and in seconds.
In seconds. They had guys running back and forth to code this during WrestleMania 18, which is insane. It's kind of similar to Mayhem, where they were putting up the pay-per-view cards as they happened. Like, you had to punch in a code and you would get the pay-per-view card, but then they started running out of the wrestlers on the roster. Like, they weren't there anymore. But here you're actually in this big WrestleMania 18, running back, and what did they have, like a little room where they just had laptops and they were coding?
I don't know. I mean, they probably had someone either running back to tell them, what changes to make.
Okay, upload.
Then they would just, either phone in the different looks for people and stuff like that.
The thing ticks for like 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Wait, we forgot an eyebrow. They got to go back, re-upload, 60 minutes. That's what I imagine it was like.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, there was Season 2, which is the TLC set, which contains 160 cards. Comes out May 16th, 2002. Second edition, which includes a whopping 250 cards. And that comes out June of 2002. SummerSlam 2002 contains 25 cards. Comes out in August of 2002. So this set is pretty much the same, except it's featuring the returning Shawn Michaels from his back injury 4 years before, and the debut of Brock Lesnar. Then there's the Unforgiven set, which is 200 cards. It comes out September 27th, 2002.
And ring the gong. Ring the gong for Unforgiven, because that was the end. That was it. That was the last.
And then you have Expansion 8, which is around 150 cards, but never got released. Now, previews from this expansion set were released in October and November of 2002, and Rey Mysterio and Tajiri and their trademark moves were put on sale in a limited edition form.
Yeah, so this game only lived for about a little over a year, and then it died for whatever reasons. I don't know if not enough people were playing it. I don't know if people were moving on to actual online console games on like the PS2 or Xbox, whatever. But yeah, 2002, this one was done. But let's take a look at what this game actually looked like, because it has the main menu, but it also has a store where you could purchase more cards, more packs, more moves. There's boosters, and again, I'm going to go back to saying, how long did this take to make a purchase online in 2001?
I mean,
Mom, I need the credit card.
You're on a relatively high-speed internet. 2001, I'm playing competitive Counter-Strike at this point. So, internet, you're not 56K dial-up, but you're not exactly gigabit speeds here. But you're on a level where you can play with some speed.
Yeah, I was probably still on dial-up at this point. I was a little behind, but the actual play screen, it looks similar to like the Game Boy games we've played, where you have the ref in the corner, you have the two screenshots of the wrestlers themselves, and then your card shows up in the top left, but then kind of very text-heavy, E-Fed, like it shows the moves kind of in commentary by JR and King.
Which I think this was really cool because it reads like how commentary would be on the show. It's you have Fink doing his ring announcement. You have the commentary back and forth, but it's almost written out the way that you would expect it to go on television. Yeah. Jim Ross isn't shouting about puppies or anything. They keep the lines relative. So Jim Ross is doing his actual play-by-play, and then you have King making all of his ridiculous comments.
Yeah, and it rather than how Supercard has an individual page for everything, this is all kind of spread out on one page. So you have your playbook, which is your deck, and then you have different pages where you could sort through the moves, and you could equip different power-ups and whatnot to your wrestler, and you have a view of your whole book, your playbook, with your win-loss record. So it's kind of all spread out on that giant computer screen rather than individual pages for it. So this really is the beginning of that game as we know it.
I mean, this is looking at these screenshots and watching these videos. This takes me back. I'm
it's so familiar, right?
Reliving some childhood dreams here, just playing this game with my friends, and this is something else, man. I mean, and honestly, is it a cluster of a game? Yeah, there's way too much going on here. It's very confusing, and I found it confusing as a kid, and I still do now.
I'm still not sure I ever played it right.
But there's just it doesn't look bad. There's just a lot going on, but none of it really looks bad. The still images of the wrestlers are pretty good. They're not bad.
They're trading cards.
The cards themselves, the cards themselves are pretty great looking. Some good shots of a chair shot, a clothesline. Man, this is pretty great. I don't know. I'm getting a little nostalgic for this game.
You know what it looks like? It looks the same look and feel as WWF.com did back in the day. Just metal ingredients everywhere, and red and black.
Maybe that's why I'm
feeling all fuzzy.
Yeah, maybe that's what's giving me the super nostalgia vibe. Is just the all the metal. What are they called?
Trusses.
Yeah,
trusses,
metal truss rods.
Yeah, little lighting trusses. Now let's go to the front of the actual CD-ROM here, because this is pretty cool.
The only thing it doesn't tell you is that it's a card game, but you're curious. You want to know if this is wrestling? Boy, oh boy, does this tell you this is wrestling.
That's right. You got The Rock giving a rock bottom to Mr. McMahon. You got looks like Jericho there with his face being mashed down by Triple H, and then we have Kane is doing something to someone, and that's about the cover. THQ and the Jack Pacific logo. It says internet connection required. Now this is probably something that someone would have bought me as a gift before I had internet, and I would have just been like, "What the hell do I do with this?" But luckily at this time I did have internet, so.
Oh man, this is pretty cool.
But other than that, George, did you know?
Did you know in June 2020, a spiritual successor of With Authority was launched? Dynamic D allows players to play matches with other players and even take part in daily title events. The group regularly involves users in the creation of new cards.
Did you know WWF With Authority was the first WWF game released solely on home computers since 1992's WWF European Rampage Tour?
Did you know the retail version of With Authority came with a redemption code for a William Regal starter playbook?
Did you know there was also a WWF collectible card game released at the same time titled Raw Deal, which was considered to be a better alternative to the online version?
Did you know there is only one CD-ROM for With Authority on eBay, and it sells for $12 and includes the William Regal starter code?
Oh, that was a lot of did you knows this week, but that CD-ROM, it seemed like it was an incentive because it was only $5 to buy, and you got the William Regal code.
Yeah.
And you could also just download this to your computer rather than buying the actual disc. So if that's the case, I feel like most people would have done that. That's why there's not many physical copies around.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, less clutter, less something to find a home for.
And only $5? I mean, why not? But you could purchase pre-constructed playbooks for superstars, and it has like complete sets and complete series for only $10, and booster packs were available for $3. That included random pages that go into your existing playbooks. It's kind of like, buying a pack of Pokemon cards. Some rare cards in each pack. Some commons and some rares. You might stack up on those Weedles, which might have been like the Hurricane back in the day or something. Steve Blackman.
You talk about rare cards, and then you say Weedle.
I said I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
What I mean.
I need to give you a hard time. But hey, listen, feeling real nostalgic. Kind of wishing I could go back to the early days of my gaming career and be back in 2001. So while I drift off into my imagination, would you mind taking us through some R&R, little ratings and reviews?
All right. So Metacritic gives this game a 53 out of 100. Now GameSpot with a 7.2 out of 10. GameZone with a 2 out of 10, and IGN with a 6.8 out of 10. But overall, GameSpot and IGN, who actually have some credibility, gave this game like a decent rating.
I think that's fair.
I think overall, not being a physical card game is what kind of demotes this, because it's kind of clunky, but the raw deal cards are what people said like they would rather instead of this game. I had those also.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm just glad that we've gone a couple weeks without like a 4.625.
It's been a while. We need one. Maybe next week.
No, we don't. That doesn't ever need to come back.
But with all those reviews, I think, it's time for the most important rating of them all, which is ours. Because right now, it's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, so we kind of said before we weren't able to play this game. So I think for the first time ever, we're going to have to give this game kind of, a non-applicable.
Yeah.
I don't think we can say Future Endeavor, play it forever, because once the servers were taken offline, this game kind of Future Endeavored itself. Nostalgia goggles on? Sure, this is great, but no one can physically play this game, so I think that's kind of...
Yeah.
It's kind of where we draw the line here. We can't make a assessment for the first time ever. We're going to have to give this one a wash.
That's a bummer.
It is, but hey, we can still talk about Clash at the Feast. All right, youtube.com/GameMarksPod for this week's episode, which is not going to be, obviously, with Authority. We're gonna figure something out where we could play each other. And
I'm gonna lay out the challenge right now.
Oh baby, okay. You're up 1-0 in April, so I'm sorry, 1-0 and 1 because Swoggle has one.
I had this really ridiculous idea. So we've done your best, or your first draft pick, my first draft pick in No Mercy. We've done your best guy versus my best guy, non-created in No Mercy. But I think we need to show some love to.
What is that?
Your last draft pick versus my last draft pick.
Wait, I'm going to look up what that is right now.
I don't know who it is. It was just an idea that I had.
So it is
Gerald Briscoe versus Bull Buchanan.
That's a main event anywhere in the world. That's interesting. Okay, 2 out of 3. All right, I like it. I'm confident. I'm confident in Jerry. But let's talk about last week's matches because we threw a wrench in.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we threw a wrench in Clash at the Feast, and Swoggle was an active participant in the matches. So we started with Revenge. We played 2. Swoggle won 1. You won 1. We played WrestleMania.
I think I should win the whole thing for winning that one.
Yeah, whatever. WrestleMania 2000. I picked up a win as Test. I believe Swoggle also picked up a win there. Now we get to No Mercy. The end-all, be-all. And the winner, because I was focused on the wrong person and didn't break up the pin. Dylan Swoggle, Postal with a notch in Clash at the Feast. Go figure.
Idiot. So, if you win this week's Clash at the Feast, we are tied at 1 each?
That's it. 1-1, and Swoggle has 1 forever also.
So is it a wash, or do we have to tie break?
No, we got a tie break.
All right. Well, figure that out. But listen, next week is a very special episode of the Game Marks podcast because one of the things that you get from being a member of our Patreon,
being a Megamark,
when you're a Megamark, you get to make your own episode. So, next week's episode is from our very own Soups, the man with the GMP tattoo. Jamie Patterson wants us to play, I can't believe I'm saying this, Simpsons Wrestling.
Bring it on. I had this game. I still don't want to play it, but I had this game.
I've been avoiding this game for as long as we've been doing this podcast.
It's been penciled in a few times.
There were some talks about us playing it with a couple other people last year, and I shot it down because I had other ideas, and was trying to avoid it as long as we can this year, and I got to April. I made it to April. So next week, excited to jump down the rabbit hole that is Simpsons Wrestling.
Oh boy. All right, so Simpsons Wrestling. Brace yourself. But I think we're good here. Why don't you take us home?
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon at Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever a great podcast can be found. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. I have full confidence that Swoggle kicked some serious ass in his fight, and if he didn't, I'm sure that he absolutely went down swinging, and we still love you either way. Wear your mask, social distance, get your vaccine, wash your hands. John, I see you sipping water, but I'm still going to ask you to do that thing that you do at the end of every episode.
Game over.
Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future Endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.
Hi everyone, this is David C. Anderson, the commissioner of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, and I'm inviting you to check out my brand new podcast, Chat 'em Up. Each week I bring an infotaining look at all of the recent happenings, along with stories, conversations with guests, and more. The podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, or wherever fine podcasts are found. New episodes of Chat 'em Up drop every Monday. Make sure you're following the podcast across social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Chat 'em Up Podcast. I'll chat with you soon.